Good afternoon, everybody, and we'll call this work session to order. The very first item on our agenda is a proclamation for Neighborhoods First Month. And at this time, I'd like to invite all the representatives here for Neighborhoods First to come on up. Gather around. How's everybody? Great. Thank you for being here, everybody. It's a great turnout here on behalf of Neighborhoods First. This is a proclamation proclaiming Neighborhoods First Month, February of 2016. Whereas the purpose of Neighborhoods First is to create a venue for neighborhood-based citizen groups to engage and collaborate with local government in community building and placemaking. And whereas Neighborhoods First provides an effective mechanism whereby the residents of Hagerstown, sharing common neighborhood identity, goals, and concerns, may form groups that are officially recognized by the city and work in partnership with the city to plan and implement neighborhood-based events and projects which contribute to the livability and sustainability of their unique communities. And whereas February is the 19th anniversary of the organization of Neighborhoods First program, and whereas residents in neighborhoods throughout the city have formed Neighborhoods First groups, now therefore be it resolved that with the support of the City Council, I, David Geisberts, the Mayor of the City of Hagerstown, Maryland, do hereby proclaim and recognize February 2016 to be Neighborhoods First Month. So thank you all for being here. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Dr. Chandler, I'm going to give that to you to accept on behalf of the group. And would you like to say a few words, or would anyone like to say a few words?
On behalf of everyone here, Mayor, we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and acknowledging us with this proclamation. It means a lot. And as we go forward as a community in the 21st century, we're glad that you're at the helm. So thank you again for the recognition of this community endeavor.
You're too kind. Would it? Thank you. Would anyone else like to say a few words?
Dave, could you get the ones that are from the specific neighborhoods that are?
Oh, sure, yeah. Why don't we have everyone introduce themselves and say what neighborhood group you're from?
I'm Reverend Dr. Joseph Chandler. I'm the pastor of Family Life Ministry AME Church off of Leitersburg Pike.
Brother Andy Smith, I'm with the Neighborhoods First Medal of Honor group.
Evelyn Meany, I'm with North End Neighbors.
Kathleen O'Connell, Oak Hill West.
Helen Bowers, Medal of Honor.
Barbara Lease, Oak Hill West.
Pam Geis, North End.
Winslow Wheeler, Historic Heights.
Debbie Pittsnoggle, South End Neighborhoods Group.
John Geis, North End.
And of course, we have a wonderful group of dedicated staff. Our HPD is well represented at all the meetings and is able to hear directly from residents in the neighborhoods any issues they have with regard to police. And of course, Jonathan Kearns and Sarah Nelson in the Department of Community Development also are liaisons to these groups and hear the concerns and ideas for improvements in the neighborhoods. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Neighborhoods are very well represented here tonight. So thank you. And I think we want to do a picture. Aaron, you tell us what you want to do.
We're going to straight this.
Okay. So, look out, Aaron's on the move.
Reverend Dr. and Brother Andy, can I have you all on the top row here in the Dace area? But ladies, can I have you on the second row? Let's center up here.
Are you going to center us up?
Yep. I'll have you all take a few steps over here to your right.
I got it.
Mayor Council, can I invite you all to join? No, this is the photo op, folks.
See? Aaron.
Next item on the agenda is the Holly Fest and Public Square tree lighting. Aleshire, nice to see you.
How is everybody?
So far, so good. Take it away.
I'll try. So I wanted to just kind of give a quick update. We had lovely Holly Fest here in 2015, and got some news in December that there may be some date concerns coming up from the Maryland Theater's end. Typically, we would reschedule all of our next coming up events starting in like January and into this early December date. The theater let us know that there was a couple of events that had become on rotation. They happened to hit on the atypical weekend that we would normally try and use this Friday date. And they wanted to be respectful of the situation, but it was just something that they couldn't miss out on, signing up some of the entertainment that was coming their way. So what became available was about 4 different dates. Primarily, the one that we were looking at was the Sunday, November 20th. It does take it away from being a Friday tradition, but the only Friday available would be December 2nd of 2016, and our concern is that that would then conflict with the city park tree lighting, and we don't want to create any conflict moving forward. We really thought that we could take the November 20th date, keep our historical tree lighting on that Friday, build around working with Main Street and or downtown movement, a Saturday, kind of like a pop-up affair that weekend, and then culminate with the Sunday Holly Fest show. Again, it is a bit of a change-up. We've done change before. This show used to happen on Thursdays. In the past 2 seasons, we did move it up to a Friday. I reached out just to kind of get some knowledge for myself off of our entertainers. It shouldn't impact very much because the kids have still not yet gone out for vacation. Most of the ones that we work with are a bunch of, are the local children. Many of the entertainers felt that honestly, if they were looking at picking dates, they've always mentioned to us about a weekend opportunity. It's very difficult when you've had children in school starting at 8 a.m. on a Friday, coming in, doing a little dress rehearsal, and then doing a show that same night anyway. It wouldn't impede on being able to still do our rehearsals the same way a week prior. There's no scheduling conflict there. It just comes down to a small, hiccup in moving forward with which weekend. So.
Well, we certainly understand the Maryland Theater wants to make money.
Exactly,
So
and
can't
we
argue
love
with
partnering
that.
with them on so many different endeavors. So I had to kind of giggle to myself and Jessica, and I had conversations over the past couple years and other staff about, we've been able to move and motivate it before. Is this just another opportunity to motivate it in another direction again?
So it would be a Sunday afternoon type of event?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Any
And
other
the-
thoughts or questions,
The tree
concerns?
lighting then will still be,
November 18th.
Yes.
okay, and then what else will be happening down there then?
The idea would be to still just create, because we normally make the tree lighting typically lasts anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours anyway, and just kind of keep that in and of itself, and then build some, some activity hopefully around like a pop-up affair
Well,
for that
that's
whole
what I'm wondering,
weekend.
because unless you have something else there, I can see the tree lighting because people are geared to go to that Holly Fest. So, and I don't want to lose the tree lighting effect. We lost the Christmas parade years ago, and that's been years ago. You wouldn't know.
Oh, no,
But,
no.
that's something that I still don't know why it went away, but it did.
I think I know over the couple years of working here with previous staff, we were really seeing that we were able to treat these 2 events as 2 separate entities. So I think we would still be able to pull enough draw in for a Friday tree lighting. I think there's enough want to from our community to solidify and keep that tradition as it is. And I think there would still be enough time to create, generate that interest for a Sunday separate activity. I'm not worried that we can't make that happen.
Yeah, I just want to be able to see the crowds.
Of course,
That
of
means
course.
Kristen and I, we can be on board and we can serve chocolate and,
Well, and Kristin was
Cookies.
phenomenal this past year in attending and making his, his presentation when the mayor was unable. So I think that we just have a lot of opportunity to build off, and it would be great to see that we created a weekend activity instead of just a one-night wonder as well.
Has good potential.
yeah, as gifts and all. There really could be, pull it all together, to get more people down there. Just like when you were kids and you went to the Maryland Theater, and they would give you candy and oranges, and they would have gifts. There's a lot of things that can be added onto
Oh,
the
it's
tree lighting.
wonderful. We,
So that's what I'm saying, not just the tree lighting. We've got to have something else to
No,
go with
we
it.
would, I think with moving forward, if we know that we're looking at a weekend, I think we just start right now saying, what do we add to make this
Yeah.
a really big shindig? What do you make it into a weekend
Right.
affair? How do you do that?
Right.
And we'll just start working on it
I
ASAP.
definitely like the idea of partnering with the Main Street and the downtown movement and those organizations to help make it happen.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Acting Chief Kiefer is going to talk to us about a JAG application. Is this JAG as in Judge Advocate General, or is this a different
This is
JAG?
the Bureau of Justice. It's a
Okay.
grant application. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This grant is one that we get every year. We've been getting it for a number of years. And is a no-match grant. It is used for the ability for our department to do overtime assignments on special details to cover such things as prostitution details, drug activity details. Basically is incident-based and data-driven, so when we're having, issues in downtown or in housing areas, we can use this money to fund overtime officers to go in and actually run details in there to address those problems. Total amount is $16,523, which is beneficial to us for overtime issues, to be able to give us the ability to do those things without touching into the general fund.
Let it hereby be known that the City of Council has been notified.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is the Memorial Park Circle of Achievement Class of 2016.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The second round, or not the first non-inaugural round of honorees for the annual Memorial Park Circle of Achievement is before you this evening. The committee met. We added an additional person to the database of potential candidates that came to our attention after the initial database of potential honorees was created, and that's Mayor Burhan, so he's been added to the overall database. The committee forwarded 5 candidates for you to consider for the 2016 class. Those were in your packet. Those are Peter Buys, Maurice Frock, Claridge Ness Hamilton, Thomas Pangborn and his brother John Pangborn, and James Dixon Roman.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is it Maurice or is it Morris?
That name is pronounced both ways. His name, this spelling is his actual name.
Gotcha.
The American Legion Post is spelled Morris.
Right.
It was an error when they applied for their charter to the American Legion. But his actual name is Maurice.
Okay.
But I've also heard the name, as you see this here, pronounced Morris
Morris,
as well.
sure.
So that's probably where.
Depends on what part of the country you're from.
Yeah, and I believe in Britain they pronounce it Morris too.
Right.
These are the 5 that the committee put forward. You're not obliged to just adopt them or pick from them. We provided you a copy with the database if for some reason you believe somebody else should be moved up further. The committee does recommend that you limit your selections to 2 per year at this point. Otherwise, we're going to burn through our list of potential candidates fairly quickly. But ultimately, the decision is this body's. These are the 5 people the committee recommended. Again, you're not obliged to pick from just this list. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you.
And so you want us to pick 2 of these 5 that you recommended? Is
Yes.
that-
The committee's thought is that since this is your decision to make, that we wouldn't just recommend the same number that you would be adopting. The idea is to give you choices. So they put forward 5, but they recommend you pick 2 of the 5, or if you pick somebody else, just 2 in general. If you go beyond this list of 5 to the database.
Could I just ask Steve, could you remind us who is there now? If you remember.
Oh boy, let's see.
If you don't worry about it.
Actually, I think I can do it. Let's see. We got
I think they're
Henry
on
Kai
the
Douglas.
list. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
that's
on
right, they
there.
are on the
They're on
database.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, but I'm confused with the lists here, so it's
Okay.
like, okay,
The ones that are marked inducted are the ones that went in
Okay,
last year.
got you.
So you
Right.
got Henry Kai Douglas, Jesse Elliott, Jonathan Hager, Governor Hamilton, Thomas Kennedy, Governor Lane, Colonel Mobley, Matthias Moeller, Anna Bruce Singer, Mary Titcomb, Jacob Wheaton, and William O. Wilson.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Anyone have any burning desires or thoughts on who should be recommended?
So when do we need to make a decision about which 2?
You would need to make a decision relatively soon, not necessarily today, but we'll need time to design and order the bronze plaques to have them ready for the 3rd week of May. So sometime in the, next couple weeks would be good.
Okay. These, I will say, I think these are excellent choices from which to choose.
I would agree.
I'm sorry, what was the comment or question? Oh, all good choices. I was just wondering, in terms of some logical way of approaching this database and the list, is if we tried to go farther back in history first and kind of work our way towards modernity.
Well, the thing I don't like about that, Mayor, is if you do it the opposite, you're much more likely to have living relatives.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
Whereas if you go back far enough,
Right.
from that perspective, it doesn't make a lot of difference.
Or someone has to do a lot more genealogical work.
Right.
Someone.
I wonder who that is. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Just as a point of clarification, on the database, there are a handful of candidates who are actually as teams of 2 people, such as Evan Kreider and Reesner, who were the airplane pioneers. If those are adopted, such as the Pangborns would be on
And
a
the
single plaque.
Jamisons, and the
And the
Jamisons
Jamisons
as
as
well.
well, yeah. In those cases, what we would have is we would put both of their images on the plaque, and they would be honored collectively as the pair. So.
And Penny is raising the point, that about some people that may not be on this list right now, on the master list though. And that is, one of the invites we have is the 100th anniversary of Jamison's
I was just thinking about that as I was looking at the list, and wondering if this might be a good year to.
And I don't know from that list that we have any captains of industry on right now that have.
On the actual.
On the
Yeah,
actual
on the
plaques right now,
actual, I don't-
right.
Moeller's on
Just
the
Moeller?
yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking
now
the
I-
same thing, that because.
I
of
know
the
that his name,
anniversary.
James is on the database, but not one of the ones
But
recommended.
not
that we
one
choose from.
recommended. The one recommended is Pangborn, which I could see, but Jamison's, because of Jamison's personally, okay? It's just that, you know,
It sure seems like it
They're
would
about to
fit.
celebrate an
They're about to
anniversary.
celebrate
Yeah,
100th
and
anniversary.
honestly-
It'd
120?
be a great announcement for them
Yeah.
as part of this.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. But that's me.
And I think it would be a good idea. I think all these recommendations are fine, but
Yeah.
I think Jamison would certainly be a name we would want to do for
Right.
this year because of the 100th anniversary.
Yeah, yeah,
They have this luncheon coming up. We could
Right.
do a nice thing for them there.
yep.
Or at least announce that they'll be
Well, exactly
part
what,
of this
yeah.
year's class of
Right.
inductees.
Right.
And Lou will be the spokesperson.
They get their plaque if they show up to ceremony.
Right.
Right.
I think that'd be very nice.
So it seems like there might be a consensus to substitute the Jameson, or Jamison, however you pronounce that. And any other ideas about the other inductee this year?
You know, Morris Frock has a very well-known name in this community that I don't know that a lot of people know who he is right now, other than the name of the American Legion.
Exactly.
And I don't know that we have any World War I folks on there right now, I'm not sure.
Not specifically honored for World War I service. Governor Lane was in World War I,
Yeah.
but
Not for the service.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, again, I'm also thinking somewhat selfishly on when we have these dedications, the turnout that we have the potential to have. I can see the Jamisons and Morris Frock bringing out a very large turnout to
big.
this park. And right now, the worst thing about this park is the people that haven't been there.
Yeah,
I mean, if you haven't been to the park, you've really missed something, and I think the more people we can get to come out, the more ultimately, like the fireworks, it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
And
what-
just a
And
suggestion,
having the
every
families
name
there
on the
really
list
is
is.
special. And it really is special to have those family members there, and they really appreciate that.
And here you
But-
would have the whole Morris Frock, the
Right.
American Legion, and the
Right.
veterans,
Sure.
that's the whole point
Yeah, yeah.
there.
and, you know, I mean, it was very nice, but again, it's like no one knows what's going on with, because it's a beautiful place, it really is. But we need to get more publicity out, and honestly, I don't know how to do it.
Well, I
Well,
think
this is one way to
with
do
this
it.
event
I mean, you can,
and-
right, with that, you know, there's got to be more thrown into it.
Well, the good news is if we keep doing this every year, at least once a year, we'll be having a lot of publicity about our Memorial
Right.
Park. And so it sounds like perhaps we've gotten it down to Morris Frock and the Jamesons.
Jamisons.
and you're gonna go with two?
Is that the,
Is
I'd
that
love
what
to
you
see
That's
want?
that.
That's the
I do like Clara
I think we
Hamilton,
should
but I
follow
think
that
those are good.
recommendation. I think that makes sense.
And
If we
just,
pile on 4 or 6
Right.
every year, we're
Yeah,
gonna burn
I
through the
know. No, I
database
think
quite
that's
fast,
good.
so.
any objections? All right, so those are our picks.
Jameson and Frock.
And I would like to also mention that at the ceremony that we'll be having, we'll also be planting some trees this spring in honor of our sister cities. So we thought that would be appropriate for Memorial Park anyway. I've been talking with Rodney about that. So we have our sister city in Indiana, so we're gonna plant the Indiana state tree, which I believe is a tulip poplar. And our sister city in Basel is the willow tree, a pollard willow, which basically means you just chop all the branches off every year and back to the trunk, and it sort of grows out the
Oh,
top
well,
from
that's
there.
good, that's not when it's gonna split with lightning now.
So I think that's another nice feature that we can add to this park as well.
And when you all adopted the policy for this in 2014, you set the date for the ceremony every year to be the Saturday of the weekend
Prior
prior
to
to
Memorial
Memorial Day weekend. You want to stick with that?
I think that's good.
Another good reason I'm more Frock in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was easy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, the Memorial Tree and Bench Program.
Good afternoon. Last spring, or I'm sorry, last fall, I should say, we had a lady that purchased a bench for the dog park to honor a friend of hers that had passed away. She was very moved by having this opportunity to do that. We have a new bench in our dog park, and Junior and I kind of looked at each other and said, why don't we try to make a formal program out of this? So we did some research, as what other communities are doing as far as trees and benches, and the proposal we have tonight is just to set up a official program where people can donate a certain amount of money for a bench, $1,000 for a bench, $300 for a tree, and they can have a tree or a bench placed in one of our parks. Listed in the list is on the draft of the brochure. They can have it placed in one of the parks, and the city will recognize them in various ways. For a bench, we could put a plaque right on the bench, and that's what we did at the dog park, worked out great. For the tree, we really rather not have monuments by the tree on the ground. It starts to look a little bit like a cemetery. It's a maintenance problem for the mowing people who are mowing a lot of grass, and they're They'd rather not have to deal with those things. So what we came up with was the idea of one of these charms that hangs on a tree. It's basically a little plaque that hangs in the tree. We'd also recognize them in various other ways with a letter. We would, on Arbor Day, we would recognize the people that donated money for trees in the prior year. And then also we would have a list that we keep on our website of people who've donated money for trees. So those are just some ideas, but we wanted to get your input as to where we want to go with this, if you want to expand it. We've talked briefly about having it for downtown. We've talked briefly about the band shell. So I guess I just wanted to get the conversation started.
It was a great idea.
Speaking for myself, and quoting you, it's a great idea.
I just wish you could come up with something rather than the charm with the trees. I can see more people doing the trees. Say, for instance, the connection with Rose Hill Cemetery, okay?
Okay.
Because you've got, it's memorial. All right, say I have 6 that are service connected.
Okay.
That are buried in Rose Hill. To be able to have that, to have that, because I don't know how you're gonna do it with charms. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think it just adds a little bit more flavor. If you have not only the bench with a plaque, but also, I know they're saying maintenance, as far as going around, but if you
Right.
could just
Can you
come up with,
describe the
if you
charm?
could just come up with something else.
What is the charm, like how big is it, or?
Well, we really haven't designed that.
Right.
We were thinking it would be something of this size maybe, and it would be fastened onto the tree. Of course, the tree's, 18
Gonna
feet
grow,
high, it's
right.
gonna grow. The charm would probably disappear eventually.
Well, and that's the thing, you know what
But
I'm
the
saying, you
plaques do
still
too.
want something that
It's
is,
a problem.
right, and whether or not, all right, the tree is one amount, and say, for instance, if they want to be able to do their plaque just like you would, unfortunately, a cemetery plaque, that's what you do have. If you could just think about it that way.
Sure.
I just think that there may be more people that may,
Seems to me though that you can achieve the same goal instead of, I hear you calling it a charm. I was thinking about a plaque that's on the tree, not on the ground. And you can do that by one of 2 ways. One way is by some type of belt or rope thing.
Right, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Right, but when you say charm, it sounds different. It sounds
Okay.
like something hanging down, whereas if you said we're gonna put a plaque on the tree, I think that sounds.
yeah, as
that-
long
that-
as.
That
as-
has a different connotation.
Well,
than
you know
charm.
vandalism and vandalism, so,
Sure.
okay, we've all been there, doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many cameras you have, it's just that
Yeah.
if something is steadfast, it's like the bricks that you put downtown, when you, engrave the bricks, it's just the whole mind concept with the trees.
We've seen during research, elastic bands that go on the tree that has a
Right.
small plaque on that hangs on the tree, and as the tree gets bigger, it grows.
That's what
Eventually,
I'm
it would
thinking.
disappear, but we're talking years.
Yeah,
But that would be one idea.
I was just a plaque that listed donors in that park or that
You could do
site.
that.
Trouble is then it's not identified with a particular tree.
Right.
Exactly.
right,
But
that's the
that would be
problem.
another possibility. is
Right.
that,
In a small park.
donors of trees in this park, and just a name, it can't be too expensive, or the $300 would cover it.
Right.
Right.
Right. The tree's probably $250, $275, so we're not making any money on this, but we're, adding to the parks,
Sure.
so,
Well, it's an in-kind thing, so it's something we don't have to do.
exactly.
There could be a portion of our website in honor of these people
Yes.
who are giving money. That would encourage others to give, and it would last a very long time. Hopefully, the city of Hagerstown is gonna last a very long time, so people would be acknowledged for a long time.
Yeah, we don't see any problem with that. That's part of what we would do.
But I think we all think it's a great idea, Rodney. Go with it.
Okay. Do we want to add anything to it? Or just go with what we have for now?
I think we go with what we have for now, and I like the idea, if you're gonna stick with the charms, I like Marty's idea of maybe having one central, sort of a place where you can sort of add names of people who've donated the trees over time to alleviate any concern that it might disappear or
Yeah,
something like
you
that.
could even get fancy and do a big map and have the names well, you start thinking about what you
At least
do,
on the internet,
and
anyway, you
theref-
could do that,
Yeah,
sure.
and therefore you
Yeah.
can
Do that on the
identify where the
internet,
trees,
yeah.
yeah.
Or have a QR code that you scan and can go around and see who has trees where.
That's true, because before long, that's the way everything will be.
Just scan something at the one particular place in the park, and then you'll know who's donated.
Oh, they always-
Virtual reality
always carve their
trees,
name in the
probably.
tree. Right, right.
We'll always need trees, Marty.
Yeah. So either a plaque or some sort of a plaque, not a charm, something on the tree itself would be your preferences. Okay, let me do some more.
Sounds good.
I think we could do either like in a small park, like Bloom Park, a plaque would probably work fine.
Right.
Right.
City
Right.
Park, the plaque
Right.
doesn't help you too much.
Right.
But,
Okay,
let me
very, very
tidy
good
that up a
ideas.
little
Thanks
bit.
for bringing these great ideas forward.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Ron.
bet. Well, I hope nobody's too disappointed that we're already at the end of our agenda, but it's time for city administrators' comments.
And I have nothing additional tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Metzner.
Thank you, Mayor. Hopefully, everybody will get through this weather. My only comment tonight, and I guess I don't have to do the council comments, but I do want to compliment him and suggest that it's a good thing to do in other departments, a good template, and that's our fire chief. As I'm sure we've all received, as he's come, we've received updates on what's going on in the world as it happens, and now he's put together this notification system for the appropriate staff and mayor and council on incidents that are occurring. And I would strongly suggest that that would be a fantastic template for some other departments. The first department that really jumps at me is Mike's department. There are few things that concern people more than when their power goes off or what happened over the holidays. And the first thing that happens, is it my house? Or is it something system-wide? And it's very disconcerting. And if there's one thing that probably generates social media, emails, phone calls to elected officials, it's when the electricity is out, do you know what's going on? I can see the same thing with the police department. Again, not things that we shouldn't know about, but I would suggest that that would be a fantastic template, roads department, for things that are happening that are very important in the city. I know as an elected official, it is a real pleasure to get those notifications from the fire department. And I've tried to let the chief know how much I appreciate it. And that way we know what's going on instead of getting it from other folks. And most importantly, the social media end and the contacts we have, we can answer those questions. And I was able to do that on social media with the power outage because I was listening to the monitor and could find out what was going on. But that would be my suggestion, and that's what I have tonight.
Sounds good. Valerie will certainly take that to the department heads. Ms. Nigh.
And that's exactly what I forgot to bring up at our last council meeting.
Okay. there you
And
go.
that was the power outage. And my father was the one that called me and said, do you know why I've been without power for an hour? It hit the west end and it hit the north end. And with that, I was able to get a hold of Mike, and it was because of a crane going into our lines that shouldn't have happened, that we did have that outage. And they had it up, and they were doing sections, and then it was gonna take them then another couple days to get it all completed, but they had everybody with power. And I wish, because you should have called me. I did know that, but I just wanted to thank the light department, because, I mean, this is when we were going through the snow and everything else, and they were Johnny on the spot. This one here has agonized me since I had gotten the email, which the email comes to me later if I don't get down here sooner, but people can call me by phone. But this person who lives out in Potomac Heights, he chose to email, and so I had to say, okay, this is the situation, and it all has to do with the snow. And it has to do, why didn't we think smart, okay? And I said, sir, I don't know that there was a plan. All I can tell you is that back, okay? So a plan is one thing, okay? I want to know, is there a plan? Because we're going to get hit again, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 years down the road or where down the road, but there should be a plan. And back in '93, I know that there had to been something in place because we did have everything moving right along. So it's a matter of, okay, do we have a plan? I have to get back to this gentleman because it has really worked on my nerves. And as I'm thinking, then my husband says to me, you know, with all of our annexations that we've done, we've also put ourselves out there, but not with any more manpower. We have not any more vehicles, so that's another thing that's added to that list. All right, and with our tax assessments, that certainly has not been the great, that it certainly is not giving us the opportunity to add more on too. But I just, you know, the response is that when he says, you know, I think that you all need to think smart. And then the other question is that he said, please pass it along to council, and that's what I'm doing. There was no one here to answer the phones. Now, knowing that there is a problem, and I know like the light department and with the others, you call the after-hour numbers, all right, if you can't get anybody. So then what do we do? And again, if we could look at that, because I don't know how that can be handled. And I'm trying the best that I can do to answer this gentleman, so I said I would bring it forward, I brought it forward, so with whatever you may come back with,
Sure.
that's
Well, I
gonna be
do
the
know-
thing. And not that we did not do a good job, but I think, yes, things could be improved, but I'm not out there. I'm not
Sure.
in that truck, okay? And the bottom line is that do we have a plan?
I do know we have a plan, and you might recall that even
Yeah.
since we've been
I
in
don't know,
office,
Lou,
Eric Dikey
honestly.
has come and showed us the map and the
Okay.
sectors and how to
Okay.
do that. And in terms of manpower, we had folks from all the various departments.
Well, I know that.
Anyone who had
I know
well, I'm
that.
just saying it for the
Yeah.
benefit of everybody.
Right, and that's
Anyone
what I
with the
told this
CDL
gentleman.
who
Right, and
could
I
drive
said
a
to
truck.
him, I said, sir, because he was upset that Potomac Heights, this road was only plowed one time, and I said,
Right.
sir, this was on Wednesday. And this was when John Street hadn't even been touched yet.
Right. So
Two
the
wrongs
priority.
don't make a right.
And the priority.
That's what I was
No,
told.
but it's also the
So,
matter of, it's also the
okay.
matter of a historic storm. It's just like your
Yeah.
rainfall events. You've got
Yeah.
50-year events, you have
Yeah.
100-year events. You
But
have those
we've
sort of
had them
events.
before, Valerie. I mean,
Right.
that's the thing. And this gentleman has been around here knowing that we've had them before, and how is it? And I said, okay, so you know what?
You always
I
have
want
to-
that
right.
plan, because I want to be able to say, okay, sir.
Yeah, we
Now,
definitely
here
have
is the plan. I mean, honestly,
yeah. Yeah,
no,
you
we
know,
have
because it does. It
And-
just, it's like,
and-
okay, and I don't know all the answers.
No, and I think the problem is, one of the plans is that the side roads get one sweep through
Yeah.
until we get everything else going with the major ones, and
Yeah.
there were a few number of people who
Yeah.
felt that things should have been done
Well,
faster.
but I think that it does need to be addressed in some of the areas, because as I said, you know, North Locust and Mulberry are snow emergency routes. And I can tell you, okay, just trying to get ambulances and the fire trucks and back of the ambulances to be able to get to people, you know, and to tell the citizenry, please don't throw that snow back out into the street. And this is when it was just first starting, and ambulances not being able to get there. And that's what the
I
public
think you
has
hit
to
the nail on
also.
the head, and we could, I think I'll give Eric Dikey and his department a lot of credit. I think they're very open to that kind of
And they
feedback.
have to assess anytime something like that happens.
Yeah.
You have to step back and say, what did we do right? What could we do better? And that's.
And
Well,
that's
I think
exactly
more
right.
importantly, to answer the question, there is a plan, it is in writing, and all you have to do is ask for
And
error.
there-
Because
And
they've
that's-
reviewed that written plan with us before.
Yes, they have.
It's a plan that involves how much snow, it's a plan that involves what the temperatures are expected to be in the future.
Yes.
And the plan for 36-inch historic snowfalls are that you do what you can do as fast as you
Right.
can do, and everything was oriented towards getting things opened up for emergency vehicles.
At least one lane.
Right,
on
but the
every
bottom
street.
line is that, you know, and any citizen that calls me, I'm gonna find out
Right.
one way or the other.
Right.
And it was a matter of, okay, now I brought it forward, so, you know, and I have the paperwork from what we have been contacted by department as to what was going on. I need the plan, okay?
If you could ask Eric to send us that plan, we could give a copy. to
It is in
Penny.
writing, we've
It
seen
might have
Yeah,
been, it's
I
been
don't
a
know,
couple
Lou, because
winters, but I
honestly-
think it was right after we took office, I think Eric, in
I
order to
can't
educate
say.
all us new people,
Yeah,
reviewed
and
that plan in
and
detail.
that was reviewed with
with
the plan
maps
that
and
was already in
everything.
place.
Well, I know
Yes.
there's maps attached.
Right,
and
yeah, it's
snow
all-
routes. Yeah.
Definitely a plan.
If there
Thank you.
wasn't,
Yeah.
let me tell you, you would have known about it big time.
Exactly, yeah, it would have been even
Yeah.
even worse,
But that's all.
despite the false comparisons to Washington County with Somerset County.
Oh, I like the
Whatever that
one
was
with
about.
Montgomery County, the one that was interviewed on the TV, that Montgomery County was much better. Well, you should have listened to the TV
Yeah.
as to how ineffective Montgomery
Yeah.
County was.
And is
And
that
it's
why
a
they were off
shame
school a whole week
that
too?
WHAG TV did not interview more than one person.
Washington Post had page after page of failures in Montgomery.
Correct, I was told
So
that.
It wasn't hunky-dory anywhere.
That's
It was
exactly
difficult for
right.
everybody.
Yeah.
And of course, Somerset County, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
they're used to it.
Yeah.
Mr. Munson?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to commend the people of the city of Hagerstown and their patience during the snowfall. I had complaints, like we all had complaints, but comparatively speaking, very few complaints. And I think that's a credit to the people of Hagerstown who clearly understood the issues. And secondly, a week ago yesterday, my grandson, who's in 8th grade, as a part of his curriculum in school, spent the day in the city with me, and I think he learned a lot. He enjoyed it, and he had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and I would like to thank all those people that he had an opportunity to meet and talk to for their graciousness and kindness in trying to educate him a little bit. So it was a great day for him. Great experience.
Great
So,
opportunity.
Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Aleshire?
Two comments. The first is, wanted to thank staff. We met last week and went over the trash and recycling issue that, has been ongoing. We went through some of the stuff that will be proposed to come before mayor and council. And I would say, just from my review with them, that probably addresses 80%, 90% of the concerns that I raised, and I think that others have raised. I don't think it gives everybody exactly what they want, but I like to view it as sort of this ladder, and it certainly climbs up quite a few steps in creating a culture of change and how we sort of manage that as it applies to public aesthetics and simple, civil livability. So thank them for that and look forward to that coming forward. I think it's just one in those sort of many things that we have, whether it be rental properties or commercial vacancies. It's just one of those things where we constantly work legislatively to make things better for the community. The second is, and I don't want to spend too much more time on the snow event, but here's the reality. I think that everyone has to recognize, and for myself, I can tell you, just in my position with Myersville, our mayor preaches very heavily, prepare, prepare, prepare. Government cannot always be relied upon to immediately improve your situation. It's just a reality, and so if you aren't prepared to buckle down and be self-sustaining for 3 to 7 days, then there's little ability for government to effectuate that immediate response. And so I think that the most important thing folks can do is be prepared for those instances where you just simply can't get out, and recognize that if we have to get there, they had Humvees and all kinds of vehicles that are going to get there, but you're not getting to work the next day in events like this. You're not getting to work 2 days afterward in events like this. You're going to have folks doing things that you don't find kosher, so to speak, neighborly in those instances, and the best you can do in those situations is be self-prepared. So.
Mr. Brubaker?
Yes, the MML Legislative Committee met again last week to go over additional legislation and take positions. And Saturday, the deadline was early this week for bills to be submitted, so we're meeting again on Saturday to try to finish the first review of legislation. But the one in particular I wanted to bring to your attention, so whenever you talk to our delegation or anybody else down there, is the rest, MML has introduced a bill or has seen to it that in both the House and Senate, the bill's been introduced to restore highway revenues, highway user revenues by, first of all, 30 million this year and $5 million increments to 50 million, and then back to the formula after that, all written into legislation rather than being at the whim of the government. So it's a mandated expenditure, which there's big arguments about education down there right now. But it really just brings what we were doing before back to reality within 5 years. And this year, the governor once again proposed a supplemental budget. The base amount was still only 7 million, but he proposed an additional 20.3 million, which is 27.6 million compared to the 26.2 million there was last year. So if that was approved, we'd be slightly better off than the current year, but we still wouldn't have any guarantees or any way to know what was happening in the future or whether the program would ever be restored. So this bill, which has a long bipartisan sponsor line in both the House and the Senate, we're hoping will be the solution. It requires 2.4 additional million to get to the base 30 million this year. You know, that's just pocket change down there, you know, anyhow, 2.4 million. And then 5 million per year, like I said, additional, till it reaches 50, and then it would revert back to the formula funding after that.
And do you know,
written into the code.
is this specifically for municipalities?
Yes.
I think there was an issue with our esteemed Commissioner Barr, who is the president of
Sure.
MACO, and there seems to be some misunderstanding perhaps about how that affects the counties.
Well, there's a lot of long stories which I won't
Right.
go into about why the counties
But I do appreciate.
don't get, because, well, there's long stories behind
I
that.
do appreciate the fact that the governor is keeping his
Right.
promise, which
Right.
he made to help restore those highway user revenues. And do you have any other comments?
He
Mr.
has
Brubaker?
restored about 1/3 of the counties, as I understand, revenues. And, but we were, well, there's a long story as to that, and I can give
Sure.
you some background. Yeah, well, the police aid was restored to 100% formula in FY14, and it continues that way in FY17. There'd be a tiny incremental increase in police aid, but basically it wasn't cut, it remains restored. So those are the key things for now. And like I said, on Saturday, we should be able to finish up the first cut of the Drews bills.
Excellent. I had a wonderful time. I was honored and privileged to represent Hagerstown at the Mayor's Association meeting last Thursday and Friday in Annapolis. And of course, the mayors, we all got yellow scarves and we made ourselves known around the state capitol to push this highway user revenue issue as our top priority among the others. Went to the reception at the governor's house on Thursday evening where he, to much applause, reiterated his commitment to restoring that highway user revenue, which I think is a very good thing. And also wanted to mention I was in Annapolis today as well to testify in favor of the CRIS bill, and it went very well. Some very good questions, but no hostile questions. It's a bipartisan, solutions-oriented bill, in my opinion, and it has a lot of potential for economic development here in Hagerstown. And it just so happens I had lunch at Chicken Ruth's, and who came and had lunch next to me but the governor and the lieutenant governor. So I had a nice chance to interface with him again and advocate on behalf of the city of Hagerstown and got a nice picture with him, and that was just lovely. I did also want to mention that tomorrow at 4 p.m., I, and Jill Frick will represent the city. The county has invited us to a meeting where they are going to kick off a series of meetings, I understand, with the partners for their commitment as they made in their state of the county to move some downtown projects forward. So I am highly anticipating how that meeting will turn out and the partnerships that we can strengthen in that meeting and continue to strengthen as we move forward, because I do think there is so much potential for these projects in downtown. And the more partners we have and the stronger the relationships and the more unified we are, it helps us when we go down to the state to ask for funding assistance. And I think some very good things can come out of that. And I was very pleased to see and hear that that was a part of the county's State of the County last week, not only at their presentation at the Country Club in the morning, but I also attended in the evening session as well, where that same commitment was reiterated. So I want to thank the county for their openness to those partnerships and to moving these projects forward. And I also just wanted to mention a couple other things. That this Saturday is the Frozen February Downtown Movement event from 3 to 6 p.m. on the square. They're going to have some ice sculpting, and apparently it's going to be great weather for that because I think it's going to be between 2 and 17 degrees. So bundle up, and the good news is you'll have some great restaurants to dive into to get warm if you need to, and one of them will be celebrating their grand opening next Tuesday at 2 p.m. The Pretzel and Pizza Creations is having their grand opening ceremony next week at 2, so look forward to that as well. And just in case you don't have anything to do Saturday night, the Maryland Symphony Orchestra will be around, so check that out if you're looking for a Valentine's date or something like that. So if there are no other comments, then we shall be adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.
Kristin,